Some within All Elite Wrestling don't expect that CM Punk and Chris Jericho's upcoming meeting involving Tony Khan and FTR will lead to much progress. We've got details as to the general sentiment towards the meeting, reaction from both Chris Jericho and CM Punk's side, when the meeting is set to take place, and can the two coexist? Adam Cole reportedly at one point wasn't actually scheduled to be part of the AEW All Access reality series. We've got details as to why. Matt Jackson continues his recovery from a bicep injury, despite the fact he's still being featured on AEW television as part of the Elite's feud with the Blackpool Combat Club. Commander signed with AEW this week, and there's more details surrounding his signing with the company. Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland is reportedly set for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view next month. Sammy Guevara goes on a play date with MJF as their bromance continues after this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Naomi hits back at reports that maybe she's too expensive for the Stardom promotion in Japan. Speaking of Stardom, Mercedes Monet has opened up on how much Monet she's making in New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. Kota Ibushi once again is talking about what would happen if he signed with All Elite Wrestling. AEW files an interesting trademark, details on what that is. Former WWE ring announcer Tony Chimwell has talked about his recent handlings and workings with AEW and Ring of Honor, working a few tapings for them. And Conan discusses AEW All In at Wembley Stadium and if the show will be a success. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about CM Punk, Chris Jericho, AEW Collision. It's the biggest story going on right now outside of the ring in AEW. And this really interesting story, this, when it comes to the expectations of the upcoming meeting between Tony Khan, Chris Jericho, FTR, CM Punk, maybe some other people that aren't wrestlers in AEW. And there is reportedly some skepticism regarding the upcoming AEW meeting involving CM Punk, Tony Khan, Chris Jericho, FTR, and possibly others. As previously reported, the main aim of the meeting is to decipher whether the idea of Punk and Jericho working together is a possibility after their public issues in the past. If it is, that could possibly be Punk's first major feud when he returns to AEW on the company's new Saturday night show, expected to debut on June 17 at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. But the big thing is that's an if, and there seem to be people within the company who think that the meeting won't turn out that way. Wade Keller of PW Torch is reporting, quote, "Among the people I've talked to, there's not a high level of confidence that the meeting is going to go well, that it could make things worse, but maybe not. Maybe things will work out. But people who have been around Punk, know people who have known Punk for a long time, are not optimistic that FTR mediating a meeting between Jericho and Punk is going to lead to progress." Keller said that the idea of FTR being in the meeting is to be a neutral party that can hopefully bring Punk and Jericho together. Unlike with Jericho, there's at least going to be an attempt. It seems at this point the idea of CM Punk and the Elite reconciling is completely off the table for now. Dave Meltzer reported that when AEW's brand split comes into play, when the Saturday show debuts and Punk is the star of that show, the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club will be staying on Dynamite. Now, this is kind of a bit of a side story when it comes to this as well, but Meltzer has speculated, mused, and spoke about what he has heard about when it comes to this new Saturday show. He's speculating that this new AEW Saturday show, AEW Collision, could net AEW around $50 million on top of what is going to be an increased television rights fee for the likes of Dynamite and Rampage. So the idea that kind of is being put out there now is that despite the drama that he may bring, CM Punk, in terms of a monetary gain, his return, this new Saturday show that he could be front and center of, might actually be making AEW a ton of money, which is maybe why Tony Khan is saying, look, maybe put your issues aside, or I don't care if you put your issues aside. There's a lot of money to be made here, and we're going to make it. So what do you think? What are your thoughts about this upcoming meeting between Punk, Jericho, FTR, and Tony Khan? Can Chris Jericho and CM Punk work together? Are you even interested in seeing them feud on AEW television as part of this new AEW Saturday Collision show? Would you watch an AEW show from 8 to 10 on a Saturday night? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Now, Adam Cole is quickly becoming one of the most popular baby faces in All Elite Wrestling, and according to Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, fellow AEW All Access castmate and real-life partner Adam Cole almost wasn't on the series. There was a break in the action this week from AEW All Access, as the 4th episode is set to air next week, Wednesday, April 26th, after AEW Dynamite. However, no new episode this week didn't stop media appearances on behalf of the docuseries, with Britt Baker commenting on why fans almost didn't even get to see Adam Cole and her relationship on the small screen. Baker told 13 WHAM ABC Rochester that she has been in discussions for the series before Cole had even signed with All Elite Wrestling. She said, quote, "They approached me originally and talked about how I'm a dentist and a wrestler and if I would be willing to have that filmed as a docuseries, and at first I was kind of taken aback because for me it's just my life and it's not that interesting, so I was like, are you sure you want to make this show?" Adam was not even with AEW yet, so he wasn't even an option to be part of this, so when he finally did sign with All Elite Wrestling, they were so excited. They said, "Oh my gosh, will he be a part of this? Will he let us in his life?" And I said, "I don't think he's going to do it. I think that's going to be a big no." And he surprised me. He surprised all of us when he said, "Yes, of course, I would love to." And right before we started filming, he had the second head injury, and I thought, oh boy, that's a wrap again. He surprised me when he said, "No, I want to film this. I want everybody to see what I'm going through and what this sport, what this world is." Baker and Cole have made several joint press appearances on behalf of AEW All Access, including one where they shared their dream opponents for AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium. I spoke about that in a previous video, so be sure to check that out. Of course, AEW All Access does air after every episode of AEW Dynamite every Wednesday night. But despite his fear that he would never wrestle again, of course, Adam Cole has bounced back to make his official AEW in-ring return. He did that last month in March. Of course, Cole had help along the way from his post-concussion syndrome. Besides emotional support from his real-life partner Britt Baker, Cole recently revealed he sought out the assistance from fellow AEW star Bryan Danielson as well, who has a documented history of concussion and neck issues. As Cole was recuperating from a serious concussion he sustained at Forbidden Door last June, Danielson shared his knowledge on the matter. Quote, "When I talk about the people who were incredibly helpful, Bryan Danielson absolutely was one of them," Cole told Good Karma Wrestling. Again, considering what he went through, and on top of that, he reached out, which I thought was so kind and thoughtful of him, because he understood in a lot of ways what I was going through. So yeah, Bryan was incredibly resourceful and very, very helpful to me in my recovery progress. On the February 22nd AEW Dynamite, Cole made the official announcement he had been finally medically cleared to return to in-ring competition. In late March, he emerged victorious in his first match in 9 months. As I mentioned, Cole's journey back to the ring was later broadcast on AEW's newest reality TV series, AEW All Access. Since making his comeback, Cole has recently stated he wants to make the next run the best of his career. As of this recording, Cole has yet to wrestle another match following his return match against Daniel Garcia. It's expected that he's going to probably face Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing, although Britt Baker could get involved in that, considering the angle that closed out AEW Dynamite on TBS this week. Speaking of injuries, Matt Jackson, he remains very active on AEW programming despite suffering a partially torn bicep back in March. During the April 19 episode of AEW Dynamite, the Elite was involved in a chaotic brawl in and out of the ring with the Blackpool Combat Club. Of note, Jackson hit a series of Northern Light suplexes on the floor while still dealing with his bicep injury. Dave Meltzer noticed in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that his participation in the segment was far more than anyone expected. Additionally, doctors are reportedly pleased with his progress after undergoing stem cell and platelet-rich plasma therapy, which involves injections of a patient's own platelets to accelerate the healing of injuries involving muscles, joints, tendons, and ligaments. Jackson reportedly suffered the injury in the main event of the March 15 episode of Dynamite, when the Elite and the Jericho Appreciation Society challenged the House of Black for the AEW World Trios Championships. On the latest being the Elite, Jackson noted that he was receiving shockwave therapy in California as well to assist in his recovery. His goal of avoiding surgery, which would result in spending months out of action, appears to be going according to plan. While it remains to be seen when Jackson will officially return to competition, AEW appears to be moving forward with a major Elite vs Blackpool Combat Club match as we sit just over a month out from AEW Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. The Young Bucks have yet to miss a Double or Nothing pay-per-view, which, as of right now, shouldn't change this year, so he's making good and significant progress from this major injury. Of course, Commander is all Elite, and despite a loss to Jay White on AEW Dynamite this week, Commander was still able to find a reason to celebrate, locking in a contract with All Elite Wrestling and officially becoming All Elite. As it turns out, Commander, as we had spoken about previously, had been signed to another wrestling promotion when he inked his AEW deal. According to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Commander was under contract to Chaos Lucha Libre, a wrestling company based in Mexico. Luckily, though, Chaos was willing to grant him permission to accept his new pact. In previous weeks, word surfaced that Commander had garnered interest from WWE, and had the luchador opted to explore that path instead, he also would have had to have been given the green light to sign there as well if the opportunity arose. Ultimately, he took the offer from Tony Khan. Commander's last in-ring appearance for Chaos occurred at a joint event with Productions Aoza in late February. Following the six-man tag team match there, he would go on to make his AEW debut in the face of the Revolution ladder match at the start of March. Powerhouse Hobbs would claim the brass ring and the victory in the belt, but Commander's impressive showcase and rope walking skills captivated plenty of AEW fans to his new style and abilities. Later that month, at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, Commander challenged El Hijo del Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship. Though he fell short in his title shot, Commander laced up his boots the following week to step inside the squared circle with Sammy Guevara on AEW Dynamite. So he had to essentially not get a release, but get permission that he could actually sign this contract with AEW. Now, one match that looks to be taking place at Double or Nothing is Swerve Strickland versus Keith Lee. AEW might be finally looking to settle the score between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland at Double or Nothing. According to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, the months-long rivalry between the two competitors appears set to be in a one-on-one bout at the next pay-per-view. Strickland and Lee combined to form the tag team Swerve in Our Glory last year after each made their individual debuts in AEW earlier in 2022. The partnership even reached the peak of the AEW tag team division when they won the AEW World Tag Team Championships last July. However, after being dethroned by the Acclaimed months later, the duo hit a rocky patch that only got rockier when they failed to regain their lost titles. That culminated in Strickland walking out on Lee during another title shot at Full Gear in November, before unleashing a full-blown ambush on the Limitless One towards the end of last year with the introduction of the Mogul affiliates, which we haven't seen that much of since. Lee would take several weeks off, having a cinder block stomped into his chest. While he was gone, Dustin Rhodes got involved in a confrontation with Strickland's new crew, diverting attention away from the Lee feud. Lee would make his comeback in February, giving an assist to Rhodes as he nearly suffered a similar cinder block fate. That led to Lee and Rhodes squaring off against Parker Boudreaux and Trench, with still very little interaction between Lee and Strickland to move their feud forward. However, just last week, Strickland got involved with Lee's Dynamite match against Chris Jericho, giving a shot in the arm to their paused program and putting the wheels in motion for them likely to go head-to-head in Las Vegas at the pay-per-view. So it looks like that feud is finally going to be completed at Double or Nothing. We got a play date today. We got a play date this week. MJF has had his first play date with fellow AEW star Sammy Guevara. On the April 19 edition of AEW Dynamite, Maxwell Jacob Friedman aligned himself with Sammy Guevara in a bid to have Sammy win the Four Pillars tournament to face MJF at Double or Nothing. This led to Friedman helping Guevara defeat Jungle Boy Jack Perry via countout in the main event. Since Wednesday, the two villains have been showing their newfound friendship on social media, with the latest example being posted on Friday. MJF took to Twitter to post a screenshot of his FaceTime playdate with his cat, talking with Sammy Guevara and his cat. The tweet reads, quote, "Guess who had their first playdate today?" Sammy Guevara will now face Darby Allin in the finals of the Four Pillars tournament, with the winner facing MJF for the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing on May 28. Now, lots of people still talking about what Naomi is going to be doing now that seemingly she is done with WWE. And an update has emerged on the new rumored ring name first for former SmackDown Women's Champion Trinity Fatu, also known as Naomi. As previously reported, Fatu filed an application to trademark the term Trinity Star in March ahead of her return to the ring. With Fatu previously noting that she's no longer with WWE, fans had speculated that the popular star could show up in another promotion using Trinity Star as a ring name. Per the USPTO report, the trademark has now been abandoned. The new status update has been added for the filing for April 14. The update reads, quote, "Status abandoned because the applicant filed an express abandonment." It's unclear why Fatu chose to abandon the filing. As of this recording, Trinity Fatu hasn't got any more trademark filings with the USPTO under her name. Fatu hasn't appeared for WWE since walking out on a Raw taping in May 2022 with the former Sasha Banks, who of course now wrestles for New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom as Mercedes Monet. Now, Now, there had been some reports previously that Bushiroad were interested, but they felt that she was too expensive or something like that. Again, this is really, really interesting. Of course, Sasha Banks, since she left WWE, she's debuted for Bushiroad Promotions, New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom, wrestling as the aforementioned Mercedes Monet. With Fatu previously indicating she's no longer with WWE, it was heavily speculated that the popular star would soon make an appearance for one of these Japanese promotions. It was reported in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter that Bushiroad hasn't signed Fatu because the company is trying to keep costs down, with Meltzer writing, quote, "The hard part about a longer commitment is that Bushiroad's wrestling division, even though Stardom has grown greatly, has taken a major financial hit because of New Japan's declines related to the pandemic, even with New Japan World Cup. Because of that, the wrestling division is under pressure to keep spending down. An example is they were told they could bring in Trinity Fatu, but it was felt it would cost too much for the return, and thus far hasn't been made that deal." Fatu has taken to her Instagram story to share this, writing, quote, "Not true," over the report. There's a lot of speculation surrounding Mercedes Monet's future too, ahead of her IWGP Women's Championship defense against Mayu Iwatani this coming Sunday. But certainly it's interesting that she said, nope, not true. So that would either imply that she might be going to Stardom, she might be going to New Japan Pro Wrestling, or frankly, this might not have been any conversation so far, and she might be unsure about what she's going to do with her wrestling future at the moment. She was backstage at a Ring of Honor show recently, so she might be about to become All Elite. So there's lots of different things that could be happening when it comes to Trinity Fatu. Now, speaking of Trinity Fatu, a former Women's Tag Team Champion partner, Mercedes Monet, as I mentioned, has her title defense this weekend. And the former Sasha Banks, of course, she defeated Kairi to win the IWGP Women's Championship at Battle in the Valley in February. Despite leaving WWE, Monet doesn't seem to be too strapped for cash, with the popular star taking to Twitter to note, quote, "I'm richer than I've ever been, and I love that for me. Hashtag Monet." There have been conflicting reports about how much Monet is being paid by New Japan Pro Wrestling, with Monet reportedly being paid per appearance. Between previous money from WWE, current wrestling paydays, and money from her acting ventures, Monet's statement about her bank account isn't that too difficult to believe. As I mentioned, she'll be defending her IWGP Women's title against Mayu Iwatani this Sunday at Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom's event. So, be interesting, of course, if there's any title change or anything like that, we'll let you know what happens with Monet. Kota Ibushi has been talking a lot about signing with All Elite Wrestling. Kota Ibushi was one of New Japan Pro Wrestling's top stars and a former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion before he went down with a severe shoulder injury in the finals of the G1 Climax 31 tournament in October 2021. The Golden Star has subsequently left New Japan Pro Wrestling following his contract with the company expiring in January of this year. Since becoming a free agent, Ibushi has often been linked to All Elite Wrestling due to his ties with the Elites Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. As previously reported, the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion has expressed his interest in getting into contact with AEW President Tony Khan. Speaking with Dark Perosu Flocion, Ibushi admitted that he wants to share his knowledge and build future stars if he signs with AEW. He stated, quote, "I want to share my knowledge with them as much as I can in AEW. The reason is to spread wrestling, to make it more major. I will give my all to wrestling." He's also even pitched dream matches at AEW All In at Wembley Stadium in London, saying he would like to face Hangman Adam Page or Chris Jericho, or possibly reunite with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So he seems pretty keen, certainly. Now, AEW, they're back filing trademarks once again. A new application with the United States Patent and Trademark Office has revealed that AEW has filed for an intriguing trademark. On April 19, AEW filed an application for the term AEW Wrestle Dream. Per the filing, the trademark term is intended to cover use for select items of merchandise. This includes the likes of bandanas, headwear, pajamas, pants, pullovers, shirts, shorts, socks, sweatpants, sweatshirts, underwear, athletic apparel, namely shirts, pants, jackets, footwear, hats and caps, athletic uniforms, clothing belts, clothing for wear in wrestling games, jogging suits, leather belts for clothing, outer jackets, polo shirts, sports shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, wristbands, and clothing. It isn't currently known what AEW plans to use the term AEW Wrestle Dream for. While some have speculated it could be a project away from the ring, others have predicted it will become the name for an upcoming show, with many pointing to its resemblance of WWE's WrestleMania. There are closer comparisons that can be drawn, with Wrestle Dream being a special event produced by WWE and SWS in 1991 in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan. So We'll have to wait and see certainly what it is. What do you think it is? Let me know. Tony Chimwell's been doing a bit of work with AEW and Ring of Honor recently. Longtime WWE ring announcer Tony Chimwell, who was released back in 2020, recently began working with All Elite Wrestling, assisting with production at the company's live events and some television tapings. Appearing on the Monday Mailbag podcast with referee Mike Kyoto, Chimwell shared some thoughts on his new gig and discussed the differences in scheduling between the two promotions, saying, quote, "It's a great place to work and I love going there," Chimwell said. "I do it maybe a couple of times a month or something. Tony Khan and that whole place is a great place to work for, and they've got a bunch of nice people and a good product, I think." Kyoto, who has stepped in as a referee for AEW several times, agreed with Chimwell, stating that the company has a positive atmosphere backstage. Chimwell confirmed that he helps out with production and stated that he's been there to help out for AEW Dark and ROH on Honor Club tapings in Orlando, Florida. "One of the great parts about it is, I'm not on the road 20-25 days a month," Chimwell continued. "I can still actually get a little taste of it and not be away all that time." With his new schedule, Chimwell revealed that he questions how he was able to adhere to WWE's rigorous travel schedule for so many years. The longtime WWE employee did point out that it seems WWE has changed their travel schedule with fewer house shows and overseas tours, recommendations that Chimwell said he made while working there. So Tony Chimwell still scratching that wrestling itch, and you love to see it. Finally, Conan has spoken about if he believes AEW All In at Wembley Stadium in London is going to be a success. Could AEW do the unthinkable and sell out the 90,000-seater Wembley Stadium for the All In event on August 27? While some analysts believe AEW has overestimated its popularity by choosing a stadium over an arena for its UK debut, others have praised Tony Khan and co for ambitiously swinging for the fences when it comes to this big event. The likes of Chris Jericho have referred to the move as a big league statement, especially since AEW chose Wembley Stadium over safer options, such as Craven Cottage and the O2 Arena. Legendary wrestler and promoter Conan has weighed in on the hot button issue, saying, quote, "First of all, England has always been a very hot crowd," Conan said on his Keeping It 100 podcast. "When we went there with WCW, and even when Impact went there, good crowd showed up. Even when we went for the World Wrestling All-Stars event, there was a good turnout. You can always expect good crowds to turn up and buy merchandise. They are good fans, Conan then agreed with the co-host Disco Inferno, who stressed repeatedly that AEW doing a successful show in the UK does not bode well for its dwindling television ratings in the United States, saying, quote, "I do think they have a bigger problem, which is attracting new audiences," Conan continued. Disco added that AEW's loyal fan base always ensures the promotion shows, especially the pay-per-view events, are packed to capacity and generate healthy buy rates. However, much like Conan, Disco believes that AEW has struggled to retain first-time viewers or the viewership of casual fans. Disco also stressed that AEW needs CM Punk for All In, especially if the promotion plans to exceed expectations in regards to ticket sales. So what do you believe when it comes to all of that? Do they need CM Punk to sell out that stadium? Can they sell out that stadium? What is the barometer for success for that show? Let me know your thoughts, your theories, your predictions, your opinions in the comment section below. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.